Hey guys, it's Miss Gephardt, and we are going to be going through the cell division and mitosis notes. So make sure you have your worksheet with you. Please make sure you're actually listening to the notes. You're not just turning the volume off and just scrolling through. That completely defeats the purpose and why we do notes this way. You need the explanation portion. So to make yourself better knowledgeable in the information, go ahead and actually listen this time. All right, so to start off, when we want to talk about mitosis and cell division, we need to talk about the pieces that are going to be involved in cell division. So we want to start with DNA. And you guys are probably familiar with DNA from last year. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. Um, and this is going to be where we have all of the codes for all of the stuff on our body. So when we think about like our skin cells, there's specific codes into making your skin look the way your skin does. And so your DNA holds all those instructions so so that you know what kind of proteins need to be made. So it tells your cell, this is what I need you to make. And you're probably most familiar with the DNA looking like this, these little diagrams that you see. So DNA contains all the coding information, the instructions for what we need to make. A chromosome is simply a structure that's in the nucleus that contains all that genetic information. If we want to think about it in simple terms, a chromosome is just DNA, which is like, think of it like a string. I don't know if I have a string on my sweatshirt to show you probably more, but like if I had a string and I wrapped it around this pen, that would be what a chromosome is. So the pen would be the protein and the string is going to be the DNA. When the DNA gets ready, or the chromosomes get ready to divide, because before they're getting ready to divide, they're very loose. Okay, the DNA is very loose, just kind of chilling. When it's time to divide, that DNA's got to really tighten up and get very structured. So if I took something and wrapped it around this, I'm going to make it very, very uniform and tight and nice and neat. And that's what a chromosome essentially is. All right, a chromatid is going to be a part of a chromosome. So when we think of a chromosome, it's made up of two chromatids. All right, so here's chromatid number 1, which is that blue half, and the chromatid number 2, which is the yellow half. And they're stuck together in the middle by something called a centromere. Okay, so this whole structure is the chromosome. Yellow is one chromatid, blue is the other chromatid, held together by a centromere. The centromere is going to play a very important role shortly when we actually divide. All right, now, the cell cycle is referring to, it's just kind of talking about the life cycle of a cell. So cells, and they all are going to go at different rates and in different amounts of time and how long, you know, they go through each of these cycles. But each of the cells in your body is going to be constantly growing and dividing and repairing and all that kind of stuff. And so that's therefore its cell cycle. The cycle is divided into two phases. We have interphase and we have mitosis. Okay, if we look at this diagram, I'm going to kind of put a big old dot like this. This is all of interphase. Okay, that whole portion of it, which is about 3/4 of it, is in that interphase. And that's a lot of time. So really, interphase for the cell is going to be, and this is the next slide, it's just the cell carrying out all of its normal functions. We've already learned about the cell at this point, so think about, you know, the proteins that are being made and all of the waste that's being broken down and all the things that are being stored and everything. So, sorry, I'm talking to my dog here. That's what's kind of going on. You eat your food at night and you breathe, and that oxygen mixed with your food releases energy into your body. That's all normal day-to-day stuff for your cell. That's interphase, okay? When you happen to cut yourself or you happen to burn yourself maybe, or you're growing in general, because all of you guys are growing, your cell's going to need to divide. Okay, in order to do that, you want to make sure that the information inside of one cell is exactly the same as the cell it creates. Okay, so if we think about your hair, we think about your skin, you want to replace your skin with skin cells that look like your skin. You don't want to replace your skin with a heart cell or a lung cell. It would be kind of weird, okay? So to make sure that happens, the nuclei of your cell has to undergo mitosis, okay? All right, so sorry about my dog, but she's being a little nuisance. This is Daisy, for all of you who don't know. All right, so we have 4 steps: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase, okay? And so we go through these 4 steps, and I've kind of highlighted it over here, which you can see these diagrams. So I've got prophase. Okay, so we've got prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, and you see them with this diagram here. And I'm actually going to move to another slide, which is going to be a little bit larger for you to see. Okay, we start off with prophase, okay? And within prophase, what's going to happen is the DNA that was just kind of floating around loosey-goosey is going to get really tightened up. That's where it's going to start winding itself around a protein and making those chromosomes very visible. You're going to see that the nucleus, the outside membrane, is going to start disappearing because we're going to have to get that DNA out. Once we get that nucleus to completely disappear, we go to metaphase. And metaphase, think of middle, middle. So these chromosomes get lined up in the middle, and they're in their little X's. We can think of them like their little X's. And they're lined up in the middle, holding on by that centromere. Okay, it's being held together. They line up, and then they go to anaphase, which is this next one. And with anaphase, these chromosomes now divide, and they go to each side of the cell because we're trying to create a duplicate copy of the cell, okay? Once they've gone to the ends, now we start getting the formation of of 2 separate nuclei. I'm going to put the kind of right in that little spot. There's no longer 1 nuclei. It's 2. We have 2 new nuclei. This is telophase, okay? That's the end of mitosis. So mitosis is 4 phases: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. The nucleus has divided because that's the definition of mitosis, the division of the nucleus. Well, we don't want to have a cell that looks like this, so we have to divide the cell itself. And if you look at this last one, right there, there's a pinching of the cell. It's pinching off. And that final phase is called cytokinesis, okay? And that is where we now will have 2 separate cells. If you look here, there's a new nucleus in each of them that have formed. So we have everything where it needs to be. It's identical. You know, a new skin cell looks exactly the same. We just need to pinch it off, and that's what the cytokinesis is. Make sure on the back of your notes that you've gone through and sort of taken your own notes on prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, cytokinesis, and interphase. When you come to class next time, you're going to be responsible for knowing these because you're going to have to do some work with it. If you have any questions, please make sure you ask your teacher, and I hope you all have a good evening.